your independent voice. Together, we make it heard. Are you willing to accept the challenge? Welcome to Independent Voice. We believe in the power of independent thinking, where truth triumphs over negativity, and where your voice can spark change. Join us as we explore the vibrant tapestry of independent voices and open minds, united by a shared goal: to inspire ourselves and others to think, speak, and act with independence and courage. At IV, we are dedicated to amplifying voices that often go unheard. Whether you're here to be informed, contribute, or find inspiration, your voice is vital in shaping the conversation. Together, we can illuminate pathways to a paradigm shift towards independent thinking and strong perspectives. Independent Voice, where authenticity meets integrity, harnessing thoughts and igniting change. Subscribe now and unleash the power of your independent voice. Our goal is to make a difference that lasts. Let's put forth our will behind truth and integrity. Ready to be heard?
Ethiopia and the US travel ban. What it means, what happened, and what comes next. Welcome back to Independent Voice. I am Mame. Welcome back to Independent Voice. We're back again today, tackling a pressing and complex topic: Ethiopia's recent inclusion in the United States travel ban list. What triggered this decision? Who does it impact beyond just citizens traveling? And how did Ethiopia respond? Let's walk through the facts, the history, the impact, and the voices shaping this narrative. But let's begin with the foundational question: what is a travel ban? And who exactly does it affect? A travel ban, also known as entry restriction, is a measure that lists certain foreign nationals from obtaining new US visas or entering the country. Recent expansion of the travel ban list targets 36 more countries, including Ethiopia, based on concerns like weak passport systems, refusal to repatriate deportees, high visa overstay rates, or potential terror links. Who is impacted? Citizens of Ethiopia. Unfortunately, new flagged nationals may have their entry to the US halted, whether their intent to travel to the US is for tourism, study, work, or family visits. US citizens? There is no restriction for US citizens to travel to Ethiopia. They can continue to visit and return freely. Ethiopian nationals already in the US with valid visas or green cards are also not impacted unless their documents expire. US citizens currently in Ethiopia also not affected, and they may return to the US without any issues. In short, this ban targets entry from Ethiopia to the US, not travel to Ethiopia or movement of US citizens. However, opportunities to migrate from Ethiopia may also be jeopardized. This could take away a chance for individuals who aspire to further their careers or educations in the US, especially those who are capable, have the means, legally compliant, and willing to undergo through the vetting process. In such cases, the consequences of a ban may become detrimental to those interested and have the desire to further develop their chances for progress. Why Ethiopia, and why now? Let's explore what prompted the US to include Ethiopia on the travel ban list now. According to public communications, internal documents and security reviews revealed that several countries, Ethiopia included, were flagged for concerns like high visa overstay rates, insufficient identity management systems, and reluctance to accept repatriated nationals. The US government has signaled that these factors, especially when unresolved, may warrant restrictions under the national security provisions. Let's talk about visa overstays, mainly the B1, B2 visitors visa. Reports indicate that in fiscal year 2023, the closest year we can find reports on, about 19,150 Ethiopians entered the US under the B1 and B2 tourist business visas. Approximately 979 of them overstayed their authorized period, causing an overstay rate of 5.1%, notably above the 3.2 average for non-visa waiver program countries. Reports also indicate that Ethiopians are not necessarily among the major origin countries for unauthorized immigrants in the US. Nonetheless, the 5.1% overstay rate on tourist and business visas is higher than the norm for the non-visa waiver program countries, which raises red flags in immigration policy discussions. Legal permanent residency flows from Ethiopia are modest compared to high-volume countries. Refugees and asylum admissions remain minimal in absolute terms, contributing less than 1% of total US refugees intake. Numbers are powerful in telling accurate stories. With that said, there's another important layer to consider, one not always discussed publicly. Historically, and over the past several years, members of the Ethiopian diaspora have engaged with US institutions, sometimes providing information via media outlets, congressional offices, or policy forums that heavily scrutinized Ethiopia's government and the system in general. In many cases, these efforts were motivated by real concerns, and they were warranted. However, the weaponization of Ethiopia's internal conflict through social media and public campaigns may have unintentionally created an exaggerated narrative. Reports, however anecdotal or agenda-driven, do not simply vanish. They are often archived, analyzed, and used in shaping national security decisions. Could this mean that the diaspora's intent to hold leadership accountable may have backfired? To some degree, painting an overly dire picture that fueled suspicion around Ethiopia's vetting credibility? It's a powerful reminder. Advocacy, while necessary, must be responsible, because narratives can have long-term consequences. With that said, let's talk about how does this impact ordinary Ethiopians. With that context, let's look at what this means for everyday Ethiopians. For Ethiopian citizens, the effects of this ban are not abstract. They are deeply personal. The restriction disrupts family reunification pathways, attending graduations, much anticipated weddings, and pertinent family events, student visa approvals, professional mobility, and broader opportunities for connection, investment, and growth. It creates and further exacerbates the feeling of isolation and frustration for so many. For others, it also delays the much anticipated prospects many had spent years preparing for. It also casts a very dark shadow for a lot of people that have hoped to one day be part of this opportunity. But could there be any unintended positive that could possibly come out of this? Could this moment serve as a wake-up call, encouraging citizens to seek opportunities within Ethiopia rather than chasing uncertain futures abroad at any cost? Might this ban prompt redirection of ambition inward towards building local careers, academic pursuits, and enterprises on Ethiopian soil? How would this shape the system within Ethiopia? How would this shape the thought process for the young generation? It could also signal a pivot toward other global destinations for travel and study, such as the Gulf, Europe, or other parts of Asia, including Africa. While these routes are not without their own challenges, they could help diversify Ethiopia's international engagement and reduce an over-reliance on any single foreign gateway. And maybe, just maybe, could this be a moment for the Ethiopian diaspora to look inward and return not merely as visitors, but as contributors with purpose, with skills, with readiness to exchange knowledge, drive innovation, and support economic and social transformation. Not through political dogma, but through tangible rebuilding. Could this be the season to shift our gaze from outward migration to inward investment, redefining what it means to serve, to belong, and to build? In every disruption lies a potential for recalibration, if it is met with vision, purpose, and readiness. At the same time, it's worth examining how the high volume of asylum claims filed by Ethiopian nationals in the US may also contribute to the perception of instability. Each case, while unique and often rooted in genuine hardship, becomes part of broader data narrative. These asylum requests are reviewed, recorded, and archived, forming a body of evidence that can shape how US officials assess Ethiopia's domestic conditions, while individuals seek safety and justice. The accumulation of such reports may inadvertently paint a persistent picture of systemic unrest. This, in turn, could influence broader policy decisions, including visa issuances, immigration reviews, and national security classifications. This isn't the first time, by the way, travel restrictions have been used. To understand the gravity of this moment, it's worth remembering how travel bans have been used historically. Previous US travel bans have impacted countries like Iraq, Syria, and Iran, often in response to terrorism, weak governance, or failed identity protocols. However, Ethiopia's case stands apart. As a nation with centuries-old diplomatic ties to the West, its addition to this list signals a shift, not just in security assessment, but in geopolitical posture. So how did Ethiopia respond? In direct response, Ethiopia's leadership opted for diplomacy, starting with a high-level meeting in Washington. Just days into the review period, Ethiopia's ambassador to the US, Binalf Andualem, met with President Trump at the White House. According to the embassy, discussions covered peace, security, and economic cooperation. And it also served as an opportunity to stress Ethiopia's commitment to collaboration. While there is no public indication that the meeting directly influenced the travel ban decision, it undoubtedly opened a vital channel of communication. Even receiving an invitation to the White House at this time signals the US policymakers are paying attention and they are listening. That alone marks a step forward towards constructive dialogue. What matters now is how Ethiopia, whether via the embassy or directly, follows through. By presenting consistent actions, engaging in clear and timely communication, and reflecting honestly on lessons from past diplomatic encounters. More than just responding to outreach, Ethiopia must demonstrate the capacity to proactively initiate engagement. Consistency, transparency, and readiness to lead diplomatic dialogue, not just participate in it, are paramount for lasting progress, and Ethiopia is more than capable for it. Let's talk about beyond politics, the economic fallout. What about the economic toll this could take on Ethiopia? Let's explore that. Ethiopia's natural beauty, cultural heritage, and archaeological treasures attract global visitors, and this has been the case for many, many decades. But travel restrictions from a country like the US, a major source of tourism, could lead to sharp decline in arrivals. Lower revenues for hotels, guides, and artisan sectors. Eventually, slowdown in local and national economic growth. Reduced tourism means fewer jobs, less foreign currency, and weaker investment confidence, once again impacting Ethiopia's growth opportunity. How are Ethiopians abroad responding? Many Ethiopian-Americans are speaking out, not only because of the inconvenience, but because of what the ban represents. To all of us, the Ethiopian diaspora, this isn't just a policy decision. It's a deeply symbolic moment. It reflects how a nation we all have called home or have ties to is being viewed through the lens of suspicion and exclusion. Our voices express disappointments, concern, and also frustration. For some, it has disrupted the long-awaited plans to bring family members over. For others, it has rekindled painful memories of exclusion or instability. For some, this may have come as a punitive course taken against the Ethiopian government. But more importantly, these voices bring urgency and humanity to the conversation. They remind us that policy isn't just paper, it's people. It's students whose dreams are now paused, parents whose reunion are delayed, entrepreneurs, broader plans are put on hold. When the diaspora speaks, it's not just reacting. In most cases, it is calling for reflection, reform, and responsible engagement. It's asking leaders on all sides to remember that these decisions have ripple effects on real lives and real futures. So what happens next? Is this permanent? Can Ethiopia respond in time to reverse the ban? Let's take a final look at it. What comes next? The US has reportedly given a 60-day grace period for affected countries, including Ethiopia, to implement tamper-resistant passports, establish biometric data sharing protocols, cooperate on deportation of repatriation requests. Should Ethiopia comply, the travel ban could be lifted, or at least softened. But failing to meet the criteria could lead to more stringent restrictions down the line. It's clear this isn't about punishment, it's about benchmarks. But with sustained engagement, dialogue, and compliance, this challenge could become an opportunity for deeper cooperation. We couldn't emphasize enough the importance of consistency, compliance, and looking inwards into systemic challenges, and use this opportunity to overhaul broken systems, look into a long-term, lasting solutions so that Ethiopia has a stance, an opportunity to be trusted and invited to take a seat at a global conversation. It is a pivotal moment for Ethiopia, a paramount importance to step back, look into internal processes, internal systems, and do what it takes to ensure that Ethiopia is not seen in the lens of suspicion, but integrity. When we say Ethiopia, we're not talking about the country Ethiopia, the mountains. That's not what we're referring here. Ethiopia is its people. Its people that belong in government, its people that are responsible for public administrations, its people that have any sorts of responsibility in putting a process in place. The people of Ethiopia owes it to the country of Ethiopia to do what's right. To serve Ethiopia with integrity. To put the country before self. That's what public administration is all about. People have a reason for looking out. This could be also a moment, a time, a reason to establish a conversation, to ask a question. What is it that can be done, as stated before, to recalibrate the conversation, the interest, the vision for the nationals of Ethiopia, to help them see that there are opportunities within the country, Government is people, people are government. Government without people does not exist. Government in and of itself is a system. Who runs the system? People. Who has the hand to make this enormous machine operate? The people. So when the machine is not working the way it should be, or the machine breaks in some areas, the entire system isn't operating correctly, properly. There's a huge danger in that. Most of the time, the danger that comes from a section, a unit, a part of a system not operating the way it should be impacts the entire system. Everything happens for a reason. This didn't happen without a reason. It also opened up an opportunity for the country itself to look into its own system and also to show that the system can be trusted. It also goes to the nation of Ethiopia, to the people of Ethiopia. There are certain things that we understand without having to say much, without having to explain in words. Whether it's the government, whether it's the system, we also have to ask the same question. We also have to have that same standard for ourselves. First of all, what am I doing to contribute to make things better? Second of all, do I have a hand in the broken system? Fact. It's easier said than done, is what they say. So as we look into our system, as we talk about Ethiopia, the government, the system, this, that, and the other, we must reflect back on our own contributions, locally and abroad. Let's take a look at our own stories, the true stories, the fabricated ones, the embellished ones, the stories we've told. It is a reflection on the country, isn't it? It might serve a purpose. It might serve an individual purpose. It might serve a purpose that helps and benefits an individual. Oftentimes we don't think about the long-term impact. Oftentimes we do not think about how this impacts down the road. I've always said it and I'll say it again. Those reports, everything that is submitted, it's a matter of archived information being looked at in aggregate. Your story, my story, your information, my information, all the different information that is submitted into this country, it just did not vanish. It just did not go away, not to ever be remembered. It is still there. Every time somebody wants to assess, every time a government wants to take a look at what it means, how things are happening, it's just a matter of few strokes of a keyboard, just a few minutes of compiling reports to look at all the different things that we've said. History has a way of coming back full circles. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining Independent Voice. Thank you for your support. We so appreciate you. Please like, share, and subscribe to Independent Voice and continue to help us amplify independent voices. Remember, use your voice to make an impact and never to silence others. Until next time, voice up. This is Independent Voice. I am Mame.